As sax players, we love to explore all types of music styles from jazz to soul, funk, classical, pop. But the thing is, it's easy to get stuck looking back at the music we love that was recorded like 30 or 50 or even 80 years ago. I want to know though, what's happening musically in the world right now for us sax players, because I find that really interesting. So, in today's episode of the Sax School Online podcast, I'm chatting with UK saxophonist Catherine Rannus. Now, she's part of a group called Bolden, who are really making waves in the world of jazz house. Now, these guys aren't just playing jazz clubs, like local jazz clubs. They've actually got over 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and they're just about to head off on tour through Europe and over to the USA and Canada as well. Absolutely amazing. So jazz house is clearly something we all need to know more about. There's a lot to unpack here for us sax players. So stick with me, we're going to dig into it today. Let's get stuck in. Catherine, we got loads to talk about today. I'm actually looking forward to this. And of course, we're going to have to talk about the course that you've made for Sax School, which is coming out soon. We'll talk about that in a bit. But for anyone listening who has never heard of Jazz House, how would you describe it to them?
Um, I love Jazz House. It's got a real feel-good factor for me. I mean, you can imagine it in Ibiza. It's a little bit that type of music. So some of it's quite electronic. So usually the foundation of each track, so the percussion, the drums, all the backbeat, all that is all quite electronic. But then on top of that is usually like 99.9%, it's a real saxophone, not a synthesized saxophone or anything. It's a real saxophone. And the saxophonists used in this genre are usually at the top of their game, like right proper, well, like you, Nigel, like proper good saxophonists. They've got the tone, they've got the control, they've got all the jazzy licks in there. I love to listen to it just as a listener, but also jamming over that beat is one of my favorite things to do at the
Yeah,
moment.
really, really cool. It's interesting, isn't it? Because, well, I find it interesting because it's reaching huge audiences. I mean, I went to see, it wasn't Bolden, it was a different group actually in Leeds, and there were like 2,000, 2,000 people had turned out, bought a ticket on a Tuesday night to come and see that. And yet, so many jazz, more sort of traditional jazz gigs are empty, right? There's no people coming to see them.
Yeah,
And also,
true.
it's interesting to me that it was younger people that were coming to see Jazz House. However, I think one of the really interesting things about Jazz House is it's that blend of house music and jazz. And hey, there's loads of people in their 40s and 50s that sort of grew up with that house music scene that, sprung up through the 80s. So it's kind of a mix of those two things. But yeah, it's interesting what you're saying about the sort of overall feel of it, because would it be fair to say a lot of jazz house music is quite chilled out as well? It's like a chilled out vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely got that vibe, even though it's got that electronic undercurrent to it
Yeah.
all. It's very accessible and easy to listen to as background music as anything else. Yeah, it's just totally accessible. The solos and the saxophones and everything else that you hear, and it's not like Charlie Parker jazz. It's not, there's nothing
Yeah.
frantic in anything. Even the ones that have got loads of really fast notes that I wouldn't have a prayer of trying to copy. Even those ones they've still got that chilled vibe
Mm.
over the whole track.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting,
it's
isn't
it's
it?
so good to listen to.
Yeah, I agree. I love listening to it too. I mean, we listen to a lot of that in our house here. And yeah, I agree with you. There's an interesting balance between complexity and accessibility. And I don't think it's necessarily sacrificing one for the other. I just think it's a way to approach improvising and melody construction in a way that is easy to digest, and it's lovely. It's lovely to listen to. Yeah,
Yeah.
really interesting. So, well, we're going to find out a bit more about your whole project and the tour that's coming up and all that. But when I'm curious to know, as a saxophone player, and you do flute and you sing it on some of these tracks too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That Bolden are releasing. So, from a saxophone perspective, though, did you find there were some things that were different for you playing when you started playing in this style versus the other stuff you've done before?
Yeah, it's actually changed how I play for a lot of other things as well.
In
Um,
how? What way?
um, so something that I probably never gave thought to was like at the start of a phrase, what a lot of these jazz saxophonists do in jazz houses, they sort of whisper the start of the phrase, and you can hear it. It just goes, and then all of a sudden the phrase is then you're like, where did they start? Where what are the notes that came before that? You can't even work them out because they're ghost notes and they're not entirely there. And the control to be able to get that and execute it to some level is quite technical. And then I found myself, because I play in a big band as well, and I was at rehearsal, and this solo came up, and I found myself, and I thought, oh my God, I'm doing it. And I was just improvising, and I'd started the phrase really breathy, and I'd done it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So
it just came.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So yeah, interesting, because do you think it's fair to say though that you're sort of exploring that new melodic approach or sort of style because it's relevant to that whole jazz house setting, right? Like we were saying, it's more chilled out, it's more subtle.
Yeah.
And so do you think that's why you're having to find that subtlety in your playing?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the best way to learn for me has been doing lots of recording. So in fact, I think because in lockdown, that's when I really got set up to record saxophone properly anyway. Mainly I'd done piano vocal stuff here in the studio. I'd not really done much saxophone because to make saxophone sound really good, you've just got to be amazing, and you've got to have the right gear to make it sound amazing as well. There's a lot in post-production that makes saxophone sound sublime, which if you just haven't got it, it can sound really wrong and bad. It really can.
I think you're selling yourself short, Catherine. You sound great. You're a great player and you sound great.
Thanks.
So, yeah. And hey,
Thanks.
1 million people a month on Spotify can't be wrong. Oh, goodness me.
Yeah, that's because Ruben, the partner in Bolden, he's done all the technical bit to make it sound amazing. But yeah, I think listening to yourself back over and over and over and over again, and you can hear and you go, I don't like how I started that phrase. That sounds scratchy. That's too tinny. And you just finally tune everything about how you're playing, the tone, your finger work, even just how you press the buttons, because the key noise is unavoidable. Down a really good microphone, it's going to pick up all the key noise. But just playing, when I had my alto service the other week, I said there's just too much key noise on this E flat key at the bottom, and he tweaked it while I was there. I were really making him work for his money, and he tweaked it so that I can just flick it, and it's so sensitive. I just need to go tiny bit of weight on my little finger and it opens, and sometimes I don't even press it all the way to the bottom because I just want to flick it for that subtle, and the key noise needed to be totally banished.
Yeah, that's really cool. Wow, yeah, I completely agree with you about the recording thing. It's an eye-opener. And, obviously you've been playing for years and, been performing for years. And even so, it's still valuable, like it is to me. I still record myself all the time just for a practice thing. And that's something we always talk to our members in Sax School about as well, because it's a great tool, even if you're just getting started on the journey of learning saxophone. In fact, to be honest with you, maybe you'd agree with this. If I kind of wish I'd started recording earlier, like when we were younger, it was more complicated, right? I had tape deck or something, rewind, record, play, all that. But now digitally, it's so much easier, or just even on your phone. So I kind of wish I'd had that when I was younger. Certainly speed up the learning process, wouldn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely. Cool. So okay, so how did the whole project with Bolden come about? Because it's really just kind of exploded, hasn't it, in the last year or so?
Yes. Well, Ruben founded Bolden. So he's a producer in York. He plays guitar and bass guitar and percussion bits, but he's mainly a producer. He started Bolden early 2024. And then in the summer of 24, he'd released 6 or 7 tracks, and he started looking for someone who he could build a live show with. So he sent messages out to loads and loads of people. And I went through for a jam and I got it. So I started off, I was just going to work on a live show with him because this is his dream, what he wanted to do. And then he asked me to top line a couple of tracks. So I did, and they're now released. And then gradually I've just done a bit more on each track, and now we're like 50-50 co-producing, writing, recording,
Brilliant.
everything together. So we release a song every month, and yeah, it's 50-50 really.
Man,
It's
that's so exciting. That's so
yeah,
exciting. A track a month. I mean, yeah, I've been listening to them as they're coming out, and I mean, because you and I have been talking about this for a little while as we've been, you recorded the course that we're going to talk about in a second. So yeah, it's been fascinating to me to see all the progress, and I think, I mean, the tracks all sound great, but I think they're getting better and better with each track as well. Really, really
oh
good.
dear.
I do actually, yeah, I do.
Because I
And
listen
so,
back to the ones I weren't involved in, and I think, oh my God, are we as good as that one?
oh, I think that it's the same. A lot of people get caught up with that same thinking on lots of different styles of playing a saxophone, a saxophonist, and it's not technical. Virtuosity isn't everything, right? That's like only 10% really, because it's about being able to get a melody across, how to create emotion and connect with the audience and all that sort of stuff. There's all those other things I think are important. That's what people remember. So the live show then. So you're heading off on this tour soon, Europe
Yeah.
and USA. Pretty crazy. Uh,
Yeah.
how's the preparation going?
Ugh. There's so much to do. Honestly, I had no idea, like, because we're doing everything. We haven't got a tour manager, absolute the logistics of it, and then the show of it. So today we've been going through loads of animation bits that we've had done for the backdrop. So there's a screen behind us on all the gigs, and there's all sorts of animation going off for every single track. Just that in its own, and that's
Yeah.
not my speciality. That's not in my skill set. Obviously, we've had them done professionally, but we've sort of got to put it together with the tracks, and it's all going to be automated with the MIDI as the tracks playing.
Yep.
It's really complicated. I've no idea what's happening, Nigel.
And what about from a performance point of view? Have you
Oh,
guys
that
been? Yeah,
that's
there's that as well,
secondary.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So then we've had to do live versions of the songs, because a lot of jazz house music are very short tracks, like 2 minutes, some of them. So obviously, in a live situation, we've had to extend them, add sections in to all the songs. We've had a couple new songs in as well. So we've had to do live versions of those ones that we haven't previously gigged. Yeah, and just all the little finicky bits. We actually have an audio feed, so our in-ears that we wear
Yeah.
that no one else can hear, it's got the click track on it, but we've given ourselves audio cues because we can't remember anything. So it literally, not only does it count us into the song, it counts us into different sections, so we know what section's coming
Oh,
up.
that's cool.
Some of them tell me what note to start on because I'm just not there all the time.
Yeah, but you got to remember that it's all new, right? Bolden didn't even exist before last year. So,
Yeah.
and now you're heading off on this tour. I know you've been doing live shows, I guess, in preparation for going off on tour. But imagine how much more comfortable you'll feel with everything after you've done 50 shows. You've done loads of shows and you feel more relaxed about it. I went to see with my wife Beyonce last year up in Newcastle, and she's a Beyonce fan. And actually, I have to say the show was great.
Yeah.
Beyonce, awesome, and obviously massive production. There were thousands of people in the stadium, and there was probably 100 people involved with the sort of production side of things. But I turned around at one point, and there was a massive teleprompter with all the words on it for Beyonce.
No way.
And my first thought was, well, I feel a bit ripped off. She's supposed to be this amazing performer.
Oh no.
But really,
Well,
that's
she is.
life, isn't it? But that's
Yeah.
life. She is an amazing performer. And it was a great show. But that's just the reality of, live performing. And imagine the pressure she's under. So,
God, yeah.
so
But
some cues
you
in
can
your
get
ears is okay.
the in-ear monitors. So if you search on YouTube, IEMs for Beyonce, you can get a direct feed for what she's hearing. It tells her when to flick her hair and everything.
Really?
It's
That's amazing.
Beyonce's are the best ones because there's loads out there. Like
Okay.
U2's are pretty good as well, but Beyonce's is the best. It tells her when to do the hair.
There you go. So you're just like Beyonce.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Wow. It was pretty exciting. So where the tour kicks off in September, right? Is that September?
Yes. We're actually going to do one in Leeds, probably around the 4th of September, maybe a Thursday night in Leeds. It's not been confirmed yet. in preparation for when the first gig of the tour is Berlin on the 21st of September. Yeah.
Wow, and then you head off. So it's across Europe, and then it's over to a bunch of dates in the States, isn't it?
Yeah, and they keep adding more dates on because they keep selling out. It's looking like they've already added on 2 Toronto ones, 2 LA ones, and they're probably going to have to add on a Brooklyn one.
Wow.
Oh
Wow,
no.
that is absolutely mega. Wow. I'm so excited for you, Catherine. So, a few weeks back, you actually were here in the studio and we recorded, well, you recorded, I just sort of watched. You recorded a course for our Sax School members, which is an introduction to Jazz House. And if you're listening to this and you're a Sax School member, well, pretty exciting news because in a week or so time, you're going to start seeing this inside the member area. For those who aren't going to be able to check it out inside Sax School, or maybe for a bit of a teaser, let's have a quick chat about what's covered in this course, because I think it's really cool. You broke it down into 10 lessons, didn't you?
Yes. So I created 3 tracks for us to jam with. So there are 10 lessons, but you don't have to learn a new piece of music for every single lesson. So there's only 3. So eventually you can use everything we've learned over all 3 tracks. In fact, one's now being released. If you listen to Proposal by Bolden, that actually made it as a Bolden track.
Wow, that's
See if you
super
can
cool.
guess which one.
Super cool.
Yeah, so there's different grooves for us to jam on. It starts so simple and it just, again, helps you think like a jazz house musician. So we're just working on one note for ages, but then it goes to 2 notes of the same note, so the rhythm of it. But I don't want you to play them 2 notes exactly the same. So it's sort of that articulation and the finesse of executing 2 notes. One's accented, one's not, one's long, one's short. And everything, how you can play 2 notes in a million different ways. And again, if you were to record yourself sort of doing that, and then you can really hear how different you can make 2 notes sound. It can be a
Yeah.
really eye-opening exercise to
Yeah.
exactly how you're playing those 2 notes. It's not about the notes you're playing all the time and, going up and down the scales and arpeggios. It's just exactly how can you make that sound perfect with more
Yeah.
finesse.
I love that though, Catherine. The way that you structured that course is it really starts with sort of simplicity from a technical point of view, but focusing on, the style, the sort of vibe that you're creating, which is very much what Jazz House is about. And then as you work through the course, you add in complexity. It's quite sneaky, very clever actually, because by the end of the course, you are talking about some quite complicated things. But because it's introduced in easy steps, it makes it really easy to sort of absorb and put it into action in your playing, particularly as you look through these 3 different tracks, because they get more interesting as well, don't they? From 1 chord grooves to 2 chord grooves, looking at different ways we can make melodies passing through the different chords and stuff. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah,
A lot
thanks.
of
I
fun.
enjoyed making all the tracks. It's not really what I do on my own, really, but I think it works for the course. And even if you are really technically quite good, I think you still might get something from the easy ones as well. If you're not from a jazz house background, just to think about how you're tonguing that note and how you're shortening this note and lighter on this note and heavier. Yeah, there's so much you can think about when you strip it back.
Yeah, I agree. So if you're a Sax School member, that's coming out from the 21st of July. And if you're not a Sax School member, well, we've got a 14-day trial, so you could jump in and check out Catherine's course, along with like 2,000 other lessons in there and our full learning curriculum as well. So yeah, brilliant, Catherine. I'm really excited to see how our members enjoy that course. And I'm really excited to hear about your tour as well. Just one other thing I thought we should have a quick chat about is, obviously, if you want to learn about Jazz House, go check out Bolden. All right, you guys are on Spotify, you're crushing it on there. But there's also a bunch of other artists in this style, isn't there? And I was thinking about if you've got some recommendations of other people they could listen to, or maybe
Yeah.
Bolden, Ruben actually set up a playlist, didn't he, on Spotify?
Yes, if you search Spotify on Jazz House Lounge, that's our playlist from Bolden. There's also Jazz House 2025, which is by Delicieux, which are a French record label which specialise in that genre. I'd say your front runners are sort of Doublon and Berlioz. They're real real front runners there, and Table as well. I really like them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a really good list. If you check out the reference list, there's a really good list of all sorts of things and what you want to listen out for as you're listening to them.
That's inside the course, the Introduction to Jazz House course. Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's something to look for if you're inside there as a member. Hey, Catherine, so great to talk to you today. And I think when you come back from this, I mean, you'll be too famous by the time you come back. But when you do come back, if I can grab you for another hour, we should have a debrief of how the whole tour went. So I'd love to hear the whole experience of traveling around to all these other places. Have you been to many of these places in America that you're going to perform?
No, I've only ever been to New York.
Wow. And you are playing in New York, right?
Yeah. We're going into Canada as well. There's Toronto and Montreal as well.
Wow.
Never been there.
Wow. And then obviously on the West Coast, your West Coast shows too. So it's going to be quite an experience. What about in Europe? Have you been to many of the places where you're touring in Europe?
Well, where are we going? No, I think I've only been to Finland. I've never been to Berlin, Amsterdam. We're doing Stockholm. I've been there. My husband's Finnish, so I've been to Finland a lot. We're selling the Helsinki tickets on the back of all the family over there.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and then there's London as well.
Yeah, awesome. Wow, brilliant. Well, for anybody, we'll put the links in the show notes if anyone wants to go and check out the show. And hopefully we'll get some listeners come along as well. But hey, best of luck with it, Catherine. I hope you have loads of fun. And thanks for talking to us today.
You're more than welcome anytime.
Don't forget you can get all the links from today's episode over at saxschoolonline.com/podcast, where you can also find all of the other episodes from the podcast. You can also follow links there to go check out the 14-day free trial for Sax School Pro, where you can see Catherine's course, Introduction to Jazz House, along with over 2,000 other lessons and our full learning curriculum that's helping thousands of players every single day. Most importantly though, thank you so much for listening, sticking around right to the end here. Keep practicing hard, and I'll catch you next time.